Well, I guess we just can't quit you, Ramley. Back for one more episode here to wrap up the 2024 campaign and to look ahead to the 25 offseason with my friends and colleagues, Maurice Jones-Drew and DeMarco Farr. I'm JB Long. This is Between the Horns, always presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. We, of course, want this to be forward-looking as much as possible, but I know we all have some lingering thoughts about the season that was. I'm glad we took last week off, though, I think, to let some time go by to compose ourselves. Good to see you both.
Good to see you. Can't believe we're not playing this.
Did you see that game? Oh, my God.
I know. Wow.
Did it make you feel better or worse?
It made me feel worse because I felt like if the weather was the same as the NFC Championship game, it's a completely different outlook. I felt like the Rams played better. They executed better. They were the better team. Just didn't handle the weather the best in that fourth quarter. And granted, again, that's the game of football. That's what we have to do. But those two turnovers that gave 6 points, that's the game, right? And so it sucks. The only cool part was that the snow and the way the scene that it left.
Beautiful.
Right? That was awesome. But football-wise, I just feel like the best team didn't win that day. And that's what sucks about it.
You beat Buffalo. They were in the AFC Championship game, and you took Philly to the wire, and they stomped the Commanders. Put 55 on them. So you were just there. So does it make you feel better? Maybe a little bit, but still, I mean, you were with everyone else watching that and you had a chance to move on. So yeah, it sucks, but there's encouragement for the future, definitely.
I think what Sean McVay said after that loss has proven to be true, that with each passing day, more of the fond memories will take over. Some of the sting of that loss will pass. And so I have kind of two 24 questions for you guys. One, how will you remember the season at large? And then my follow-up, which we can save for later, is what was your favorite moment within that season? But big picture, how do you think a week, a month, a year from now, you'll remember the 24 Rams?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I get motion sickness. And so to me, it was a roller coaster. But it was one of the more fun rides and satisfying rides that I've been on as a broadcaster and the radio guy for the Rams, because to see the expectation at the beginning of the year was so high, and then to hit that low of 1-4, and to see the Rams and be here and to do these between the horns and talk all the time and see them fight and crawl their way back, and then you get healthy against the Minnesota Vikings, who was a hot team, and you win, and then you go out, you beat Buffalo, and it's just so many things, and there are so many parallels to last year. I'm getting goosebumps now, but it's just like to see the way this team stuck together, this coaching staff stuck together, to see the way they were able to really get the most out of everybody. And you had to make some tough decisions throughout this process. See the way the defense played, the young guys played, to battle back to the Fires, and they go to Arizona and demolish the Minnesota Vikings, right? And then go to Philly, and literally you misfit 3 runs, and that's the game, right? Like defensively.
Yeah.
And other than that, though, you played like you had a safe, there's just so many things that they did throughout the course of the season that, especially defensively, was amazing.
So many guys, like you said, when you misfit the run, some guys, they give you the chance to run them down. If you misfit him, he is gone. So you have to give him his credit. He's so good. And like you said, the roller coaster ride, I'm with you. As soon as you dock, I want to go again if this ride is going to be that much fun. But when I saw this, and this is funny, you're going to think this took me a minute. The first thing that came to my mind about how I would describe this season is a rambling wreck. Remember that from Georgia Tech?
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the rambling wreck actually is?
No.
It's about a car. It's an engineering school, and how this car, this first Model T, Model A, was put together by tractor parts, all this other stuff, and it was held together by ingenuity and creativity. Doesn't that kind of describe what went on this year with this football team? A young defense, a seasoned offense, and then you flop mid-season. What's really driving this train? Just amazing. And you never gave up, even when it got at its toughest, when you were 1-4, when the world said you can't make the playoffs from here. It's an 8% chance. And that never factored into this building. So roller coaster, rambling wreck, it was all great to finish off the way you did.
I love that, because you didn't have your first choice of every single piece on the assembly line, is what you're saying, right?
Right.
And they achieved this year not because so many things went right, but in spite of so many things going wrong. Like, go back in time, the free agent wagers that they made didn't exactly pan out the way they had hoped, right? I think we all would have liked more from Jonah Jackson and Trey White and maybe Colby Parkinson. There were some hits like D. Will and Cam Curl and D. Rob and K-Dot, great seasons, but what they envisioned this team being and built over 7 months, forget surviving first contact. They didn't even make it to the starting line in Detroit. And all these hiccups along the way, whether it's even Stafford's contract stare down or the training camp injuries or the September injuries, the front-loaded schedule, at each turn, they just kind of persevered and found a way to stay in the fight. And that's where I feel like you referenced it was so much like 23, right? It almost gave you goosebumps. Yeah. I agree. And it also had ingredients of 22. It was almost like the perfect amalgamation of the scar tissue that they took on in 22. Yeah. And then the joy of seeing overachievement from young players in 23 thrown in the blender, and the institutional knowledge that they built through those 2 post-Super Bowl seasons coming to fruition in the second half of this year.
And coaching, too.
100% coaching.
Yeah, I mean, you had no idea, and then, turns out he's a great coach, and he can really lead that group to get better and better.
I'll say this, too, like talking about like the Kansas City Chiefs and their consistency in this dynasty. They've had the same play caller, same voice in the offensive room. They've lost a couple of offensive coordinators. They've had the same D coordinator. They've had the same special teams coach. And there's consistency in that. For what the Rams have done with losing coach after coach after coach and possibly losing another coach, right? It's like credit has to go to Sean McVay with keeping this everything in-house and really grooming guys to be better coaches throughout. And again, that's a testament to this organization as a whole. You're losing personnel people left and right. And to see other guys leave and flourish. I think that's what I got more of this season. Yes, the young guys made plays, but how many other coaches have left here and then took this model and went somewhere else and won?
Yeah. Few.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, this is special. And so you want to try to hold on to this as long as you can.
I'll use that as a jumping off point for our 25 preview in just a second, but I have to do these year-end awards, right? And one of them is Moment of the Year. So if you could help me, if we could crowdsource this a little bit.
I got it already.
You got one?
I got it right now.
I got 2 minutes, but go ahead.
Pick 6 against Seattle. Cam Kitchens. Turned the season around. You had to go. You had to win in Seattle. That was you. I talked to JB. JB said this is a must win. Must win.
Yeah.
That pick 6, more than anything, because DeMarco always says catch the ball, take a knee, or don't pick it up and score. To be able to pick the ball in the end zone and then take it 100, what is it, 106 or 103? 103 back later.
Touchdown in franchise
fumble the
history.
ball, then pick it up again to have the wherewithal to pick it up. Like, to me, that was the turning point in the season.
Hold on. Yeah. Should we keep it regular season only? Because you could say scoop and score Jared Verse in the wild card too, right? That would be an easy one.
You said the season. That counts.
You can if you want.
Yeah. Okay. The entire season. What was the walk-off? Stafford to DeMarcus.
Same game he's talking about.
Same game. I mean, that will always stand out because we were like, you fought back just to get back in the game. And then he calls game in one pass. That was amazing. Okay, it's one. It doesn't have a stat attached to it. It just made me laugh. It was when Philly came to town, and it's about Jared Verse when he absolutely blew up my lot. And the funny thing was, he was so unapologetic about it. He might have been offsides. I get it, but he blows this big tackle up, the meanest guy on the best O-line in the league, and the guy gets up and runs to the official. I thought that was hilarious.
If you watch the second game, if you watch the divisional round,
yes,
Mailata still had it in his mind that like you're cheating. This is not what you're doing is not right.
A dude that big, if you want to go talk trash, Verse was standing right there. He wouldn't talk to the official like this is for real. And then Verse talked this trash and went back into Philly and did the same thing to the other side.
Exactly.
And had a whale of a game. So that was like, this dude is legit. He is for real, and he's absolutely terrifying.
No bad choices here. I like everything you said. I'll throw a few more out to the group. Maybe the comments section will help us out a little bit. The fake punt by Ronnie Rivers early in the season, week 3. Season on the brink, you could argue, against the Niners, and then the Cardi walk-off winner.
Yeah.
2 massive contributions.
Who got the block punt? Block punt that Hunter
Hummel
got the block punt.
Buffalo.
Hunter Long scooped and scored.
Yep.
There were a few. Puka Nacua's catch in New England when he laid out.
I had Puka on the 3rd and 5 screen against Buffalo to put that game out of reach.
So many memories.
Layout in New England. How about Stafford off schedule in that Minnesota game, ducking the rush, kind of vintage 9 and dime?
Or if you want to go back, go to Seattle and talk about the Stafford throw before the walk-off touchdown. The one he threw, there was like 17 people right there, and it hits Tyler Johnson right in the chest on the over. That
stuck it on him. Yeah. McVay wearing a hat.
Same game as McVay wearing a hat. Higbee coming all the way through rehab to get the game winner. Akello clinching the Arizona game.
Yep.
All right, let's get back into the coaching continuity.
Can I say one more?
Yeah.
How about Kyron's flip over Funga?
Sweet.
That's another good one, too.
Yes.
Throw that out there for everybody.
Twice. I thought you'd throw that one out. Beating the Niners twice. That's signature.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. While you're here on Between the Horns, go watch, what was that? The pre-Philadelphia trip? We talked a lot about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And why the season was a success no matter what happened.
Yep.
Let's start with the head coach before we get into some of that coaching continuity and combating the brain drain, which I think you were right to bring up. We don't know what this offseason is going to bring, clearly. We do know that the Rams have one of the 3-4 best head coaches walking the planet right now, I think. And his very existence means your floor moving forward is going to be pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And so my starting point for 2025 is that when I hear him speak, in the aftermath of the loss to Philadelphia, he's still both feet in. He's full steam ahead with the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know. There's a better place to start.
Yeah, I would say as long as he has the energy and he's locked in, then that's where you have to start, right? Because he's the very beginning when he first got here, and he was 30 years old, and he talked about the we not me, and we were at OTAs, and I remember Andrew Whitworth, who was like 4 or 5 years older, maybe 6 years older than Sean McVay, jumps off sides. And McVay's like, get out. Right. And again, that's your captain. That's your leader of your team. That's the guy that's going to like really permeate your foundation and your views through the locker room. That's where it started. And to have that type of respect early on shows, again, that's where it is. And then, like you said before, to lose offensive coach after offensive coach after defensive coach after defensive coach, and these guys are all becoming head coaches. And still to put a product on the field that competes to win a championship almost every year is very unique.
DeMarco, it feels like he's entered a next phase of his career too, whether it's kind of coaching the entire facility, being involved on defense and special teams, whether it's embracing the defensive identity of this group, even though that wasn't the archetype necessarily. That wasn't the plan. I think his game management decisions took a nice step forward this year.
I thought wearing the hat was, sign of growth. I told you guys laughed at me. You can't outdress the head coach because he's coaching you to ignore weather. If he goes out there in a parka, how do you coach to be tough? So him wearing a hat, I thought that was smart. But yeah, I think this is headed towards a Lombardi or at least a Super Bowl berth, because if you go back to the year after the Super Bowl, and then we all thought he was leaving, and then you fought your way back after that season, and then you had the 1-4, and you finished off this year in the playoffs. I think this ends somewhere in a Super Bowl at some point. That's the way he's got this thing going. The way he looked when he got his energy back, and the way he's been coaching this year all over the place. He has embraced the total job of being a head coach. You need to show up in every single meeting room and in every single drill to keep these guys going, because that's what it takes this football season. So he has been spectacular. And I'm with you. That is the number one thing. Number two would be your quarterback. Number one, your head coach is firmly planted in Los Angeles. That's not going to change. Good. Start the ball rolling. Now move on to step two. Make sure that guy doesn't leave the building as well.
All right, let's go there. There's a lot of good going into this offseason. Sounds like you're healthy. Doesn't sound like Braden Fisk's injury is going to prevent him from, being ready for training camp. Won't miss any games. That's great. No other Tyler Higbee-like injuries that we're aware of. So the offseason program has a chance to be a really good one, a really productive one, especially because you're not onboarding new coordinators and teaching your culture and your system to your coaching staff and then in turn your players. But DeMarco, you hint at it. I think this is a fascinating offseason setup, and it all starts with QB1, because I think the majority of our audience, I could be wrong, is kind of in this camp. The Rams are a couple pieces away, 1 or 2 on offense, 1 or 2 on defense, from being a Super Bowl favorite again with Stafford at the switch. Or, and I'm not necessarily inclined to go this direction, but I could hear the case that maybe this is the perfect juncture to start a new chapter. Maybe not. But you could go out on a high note with a feel-good season. So take it from there.
So I'm driving in today. I'm talking to my youngest son, and I'm about to pull into one of the parking spots. And as I pull in, I was like, oh, this is number 10 Matthew Stafford captain on it. And it's like Cooper Cup and all the captains have their own spot, right? And I was like, oh, let me not go there. Let me kind of back in. And to me, that's the sign of respect that he has, right? That he's earned here in this at this franchise. And I think if you want to win and you believe that you have a chance to win, you have to lock him in, right? He just gives you a different dynamic. I know he's getting older, but what he was able to do, and it really, where I gained the most respect was the 1-4, right? I've seen quarterbacks older, 1-4, kind of turn it down a little bit, not stand in the fire, not make throws that need to be thrown, turn it away. He never did that. He never once threw his guys under the bus.
Ever.
He always talked about getting better. And to me, that's very rare in this day and age when guys are making so much money and guys, we're trying to battle. I know he has a contract situation, but I think it's best if you're the Rams to figure out a way to make it work for everybody.
I hope so, man. As far as arm talent, quarterbacking, leadership, everything, I've never seen anything like that up close. Of course, I've seen Elway, Young, all these guys from afar, but never up close. And when it's legit, the guy can just will you to victory. He is that good. He inspires people. He scares the crap out of his O-line if you make a protection issue or faux pas. That's what quarterbacks should be. Now, I remember when I realized that this is a business too. I was in my second year and Sean Gilbert was telling me he's leaving next year, and I started crying on the bus because I thought this D-line would be together forever. That's how it used to be. That's high school, college.
Yeah.
We're there forever. Wait a minute. You can leave? Yeah, this is a business. So I hope that the business doesn't get in the way of something special, because if you can run this back and you can fix a few things and your luck changes a little bit on your O-line in particular, you're probably not playing that playoff game in Philly. You're probably playing it right here in Los Angeles. And all that starts with number 9. So look, I'm not saying anything that we don't know or the coaches don't know or the fan base doesn't know, but this is a business, and sometimes business dictates where guys go, and sometimes they're not here.
Well, this is the thing, and
that's what sucks about it.
I'll be the devil's advocate to it. If it is a business and he does leave, I'm still confident in the Rams' offense being able to put up points. I'm confident because I've seen Baker Mayfield come off of a 2 days and put up 30 points. I've seen it. I've seen Baker Mayfield run this exact offense in Tampa and scored, have over 40 touchdown passes, right? So yes, the best thing is I want Stafford here, but if he's not here, I'm comfortable with option 2.
Part of me going bonkers week 18 about Garoppolo. I wanted to see what it looked like with someone else under center. He looked okay. He looked pretty good. I mean, with more time, and some weapons. Yeah, well, you can teach an offense, definitely, but you're talking about a guy that's probably going to end his career and walk straight into Canton 5 years later. Yeah. Those guys don't grow on trees. So if you can find a way to keep him in the fold, so be it. But I get it. It's business.
I think you have to look at 2 things. The second of which I'll get to is the schedule in 25. The first of which is the division and your place in it. Because I think we know now more than ever that if you can be better than 3 teams and you catch a home playoff game, you're in the bracket, and McVay and Stafford are going to be a tough out. Last 2 years, 4-1 against the NFC West before having the privilege of resting your starters in Week 18. Seahawks are going to have a new offensive coordinator. They hired Clint Kubiak. They're sticking with Geno until told otherwise.
Until he's traded to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Arizona is Arizona, and the Niners have a new defensive coordinator. They get Robert Saleh back. They're set to pay Purdy. It has like a last dance type of feel for some of their aging offensive stars. But if you have Stafford back at the switch, I think you're either the 25 favorite or the 1B in the NFC West. Am I wrong?
No, okay. I think you're right. Like I said, I think we're saying everything. We already know.
I think you're the favorite. I don't think that you're the 1B because of the way your defense is, right, and how young they are. And to be honest, if you really look at the NFC West and how it's structured, the team that's always dominated was the Niners because they were so physical, right? Their defense will beat you up. Well, that's the Rams now. The Rams are the more physical team. They've shown that this year. So Stafford comes back. I think you are the favorite right away.
The 25 schedule has the NFC South and the AFC South. Looks good on paper. It's January. And then the first place crossovers are daunting, though. You host the Lions. You go to Philly and Baltimore. The question is, are you a Brandon Cooks or a Jalen Ramsey away from being right there with a chance to win double-digit games and get back to the postseason?
I think you're there now. I mean, if you add people, so be it. If you get a little more explosive on offense, so be it. I think that might be the offseason game plan outside of Stafford, find a way to get a little bit faster. But I thought you were there. You took Philly to the wire. You had a chance to beat Detroit in week 1. was right there for you. The games I keep coming back to for 2024, when you said like my memories are actually Chicago and Green Bay.
I was going to say Chicago was mine.
Imagine if you got those two and then you finished off the way you finished off. Oh my God, this whole season is different. So yeah, I like I said, if you can find a way to run it back with the guys you have and add a little bit more, I think you are the favorite in this division, possibly more going forward.
Or forget trading for a veteran, like just for the sake of argument. Let's take pick 26 and this past class, the likes of Brian Thomas or Xavier Worthy or Ladd McConkey or Keon Coleman. Like those were all weapons like you're talking about available at or around or after that pick point.
Yeah, I mean, if you go get a lockdown corner at that part, right? Like you can
never have enough good corners.
And to me, I think it's less about going to get vets. I think it's more about keeping this group as close as much you can together. If you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, I want to say the Chiefs have 18 guys that were on that last Super Bowl team 2 years ago that played, and then the Eagles have 12, right? And so they were able to keep a nucleus of guys there, which is important. Like we talk about it all the time. The more that you can hear the same word, you can see the same people, you can walk the same halls, the more comfortable you are, the less you have to think, the more you can react and go and play.
I hear what you said about wanting to get more explosive on offense. Who can you break the huddle with who tilts the math in your favor? It reminds me of the 21 offseason. You'll remember the Rams not only signed Deshaun Jackson.
I do.
After the Stafford trade, of course, but then also drafted Tutu Atwell. That's an interesting data point in terms of what did you learn from that experience? How will it inform your steps this offseason as you try and chase down, I think, a similar goal?
Not to step on anybody's toes, but maybe your speed or explosiveness doesn't have to be at receiver.
Okay.
Running back.
All right. Can I play something from you? Because the closest thing we have to tea leaves right now is this comment from Sean McVay's kind of season closing press conference about how he wants to be more versatile on offense and how they'll spend this offseason going about that.
The easy answer is to complain about the injuries that we had that threw off the continuity. And while that might be true, you can't allow that to inhibit us the way that it did, and that's nobody's responsibility but my own. I think more fully functional. I think even our teaching progressions for the totality of the group. How do you utilize the offseason? How are you making yourself more versatile from a personnel perspective, from just a run variety perspective? And those are the things that I'm excited to be able to dive into. But I was talking to Liam Cohen the other day, and one of the coolest things that I think is reflected about what a great job he did was, you've got a background, and then when you watch them and what they evolved to with Bucky Irving and the way they ran the football and some of the variety and personnel groupings, I thought that was a cool reflection of, hey, maybe we think we're going to do that. And then what you evolved into, if you're able to understand, hey, the best coaches adjust to their players. And that's what we've got to do a good job of as it moves forward and what it looks like from our offensive line, from the surrounding parts with our backs. But I think, I could go on and on about the variety of things that I'm excited about attacking to hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that we had throughout the year to ultimately lead to more consistent production and play, regardless of whatever our injury situation is.
After hearing that, and then kind of looking at this, it's so funny. Last year, free agency was the free agency of running backs, right? We saw the way running backs were able to trade teams. Shout out to the Giants for ruining the NFC, right?
Yeah.
How many teams wish they would have signed Saquon Barkley, right? Knowing that you would have had this type of deal. But this draft is the draft of the running back and of the explosive. The thing is, can you find a back that has the football IQ to handle what you're going to throw at him? I felt like this year Blake Corum struggled a little bit on getting on the field because they weren't comfortable enough with putting him in some of those situations. And then obviously New Orleans comes in, he plays a little bit, then he breaks his arm at the end of the year, his forearm. So
is that a comment about the offensive line as much as the running back? When you talk about the running game, again, it all starts with who your quarterback's going to be. Because I think if it's Matthew Stafford, that colors your thinking on, okay, what do we do with the answers we need to find at left tackle, at right tackle, at center?
Yeah. I think when we know which way they want to go. They have an identity offensive line wise, what they want to have. They want to be bigger. They want to be maulers, right? So that tells me, okay, we'll have some outside zone stuff, but we need guys that can break a tackle, run through some guys, and still have the ability to go score. And that's what you're going to have to look for. We've always talked about it. Kyron does such a great job of manipulating backers and guys in the box. The one downfall is just his long speed. He doesn't have that long speed. And when you go against a guy that has a long speed and you see that and how easy it is to call a play and he can go 70 with it, it's like, I don't have to have a next play ready when you're going with guys like that. And so I think when you see that, you play against that, it's kind of very similar. Like, I need that. I want that in my offense because that'll make us way more explosive. You brought it up throughout the season about being more explosive offensively.
I want to talk offensive line one more time, but let me get to Puka next.
Okay.
If Puka is grading out as one of, if not the best receivers in the game, if he's your wide receiver one moving forward into year 3, how do you complement him? What are you looking to stack and bunch him with, or to put opposite him to bring out his best and to stress defenses most?
Anybody that could beat one-on-one coverage on the backside, a burner down the field or something like that. It's funny talking about Corum and protection issues and whatnot. Why aren't you playing Corum more? It's because maybe he's not well-versed in protection. Kyron is better at pass protection. Well, then the question came, well, change your offense. Well, that's not so easy, but I understand where he's coming from. Pare it down if you need to get more out of some younger guys. I would love a loose play guy, a guy that can come in at receiver, running back, what have you, that could create something out of nothing. Make it so you don't have to dial up or schedule 14 plays just to move the ball down the field. It's kind of rough to do that. It puts a lot in your quarterback, a lot in your offensive line. It definitely helps when you have that explosiveness. But O-line wise, I mean, look, I thought at left tackle, when Allard Jackson came back, that changed a lot. How many times did you guys say his name during the game?
Never.
Not that much, right? I mean, I think your answer to left tackle is already in house. Everything else that transpired when you made switches right before week 1 and you had to sub guys because guys got hurt. I thought the O-line did a fantastic job of regrouping, but if we're trying to come into the draft and you're looking for somebody who is fast or explosive, and there's also an offensive lineman that's sitting there at that same spot, I might go towards that guy, especially if Stafford is your quarterback, because that is job number 1. And look, the easy way to get more explosive in today's NFL is find a quarterback that runs. That ain't going to be you if you sign Stafford. Right. So what's the best way to make him better? Protection. Or find somebody that can run down the field.
To that end, would you consider going all in on Jonah Jackson again this offseason?
I'm not done with him.
A healthy offseason program, whether he's your full-time center or someone else is and he slides in at guard, that's worth considering given the financial investment you've made.
Yeah, for sure. You have to. You have to do that. Obviously, we talked about the blessing in disguise, having Bo Limmer being able to step in and play some very pivotal snaps after what he did in the preseason. But Jonah Jackson, to me, you have to figure out a way to see if it works, right? I think DeMarco hit on the head when he said, if there's a right tackle or a tackle and an explosive player, you take the tackle every time because you can go find Antonio Brown in the 5th round. We've seen this over and over again of explosive players, Puka Nacua in the 5th round, right? Like, you can go find guys that go. Now, I will tell you this. I wouldn't go get an explosive, just a guy that can run down the field. We've tried that already. It didn't work out. Give me another Puka. Give me another guy that I could put on the other side and he could bully the other guy if need be. Now Stafford has 2 guys he can go to in critical situations. Give me a guy with run after catch that I could get you the ball quickly and you can make a guy miss and go. That's what I want because that's what your offense is. And then when we need to take a shot, we have a receiver coach that can train you how to get down the field and make those things go. But it's hard to teach is a guy that you can throw a hitch to. He can make a guy miss and go. And that's what we saw Puka do multiple times. And that's where he's special.
Maybe Jay Witt's that guy. Maybe he's already here going into year 2. All right, let's switch over to some defense. And I think it's amazing that the Rams did not score on defense from Christmas of 22 until week 5 of this year. And then the defense ripped off 4 straight games scoring points. They scored the longest defensive touchdown in franchise history. Then they scored on special teams. 7 games overall, including playoffs with non-offensive scores. Like, here's one of my biggest takeaways from 24. Chris Shula's a dude, and he's got some dudes. And I think that opens up a whole new chapter of Rams football.
No doubt. And can I just clarify, if the ball comes out and you're in a scrum, fall on it. If it's on the edge, scoop and go.
No,
there,
man.
we're done. There. I want to clarify what Maurice said. I'm all in favor of scoop and score when you can. If it's there, fall on it. But I thought Chris Shula got nothing but better every single day, every single week. And look, he's new and these players are young. So they don't know him, you don't know them. But as he started to figure out what he could do, and they could handle more. They could be more aggressive in the back end, which means you can be more aggressive in the front end going after quarterbacks. Once you married those two, the voice and the talent, the defense took off, and then it started to grow beyond even his control. They were they were super aggressive. I think Jared Verse, the thing that impressed me most about him coming into this year is, how well he just took to that leadership role like that. And he never stopped talking day one. He's talking trash to his own teammates. He's talking trash to them. And he also backed it up with this play. I think that was reflective of Chris Shula. Let these guys go. I'll correct you when you're wrong, but I'm not going to let you take smoke off your rush at all.
I think you have to talk about Sean McVay when you talk about the defense. It would have been human nature to kind of say, let me go over and kind of micromanage this defense a little bit. Again, I go back to OTAs when Jared Verse was getting into it with the tight ends, and McVay's like, controlled aggression, and Verse is like, I'll take all you guys on. I don't care what, like, who wants some, right?
Yeah.
But then to see that, and that's what you wanted, and that's why you drafted him, right? And then to allow that to grow naturally, organically, and then to see Byron Young play with that type of edge, to see Kobe Turner play with that type of edge, right? To see Roseboom start playing with that type of edge throughout the season. Then you make the big move to bring Spates in, which that was huge. We saw that in preseason, his physicality. And then to see the back end kind of start to shape out in the middle of the season. I thought, those are some tough decisions, man. Like the Land Shark is starting at one point, and then he kind of gets banged up. And then Akello Witherspoon has like 4 games in a row where you're like, can't get him off the field.
Yeah.
Like, and you're never supposed to lose your job to injury. But he's hot. I got to play him. D Will
twice.
Yeah, D Will coming in and really solidifying the side of the ball as well. Like, they just did so many great things. And then the way you utilize the captain, Quentin Lake, both at the slot, to trust him to play man-to-man, but also come down and some of the tackles and the blitzes. And, again, it became about the players and not the scheme. And I felt like when that happened, you started to see this thing just go.
So let me compare those two conversations. On offense, we're saying, well, we can't really decide until we know who's at quarterback. On defense, your quarterback is the fearsome 2020 foursome, and you have the answers now. So DeMarco, what's the next step to building this defense from being like timely and opportunistic and clutch to being lights out?
What was your first thought when I say Akello Witherspoon about his demeanor, how he plays? How would you describe his?
I'll tell you this.
I didn't know he was going to hit like that.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Dude got fined for a hit at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That guy. That's the progression. That's the attitude. That's what this defense brings. So if you're asking me, how do you make this defense better? If we go back to that same draft conversation, this is where Chris Shula and the defense would stand up. If there's a tackle, a loose play, fast guy, and a top flight corner, I may be going for that guy. If you can find a way to lock up the other team's best receiver with one guy and free your safeties up to roam and just be ball hawks, you'll be better.
I hear that, but could I also make the same argument, given what you just said, that because of the pressure and the diversity of pressure, you may continue to cut a corner at corner and throw numbers at the problem with maybe more Akello, maybe Darion Kendrick coming back, D. Will.
Maybe there's a corner that gets cut and you're able to go find a guy kind of like
these college free agents from last year that you rostered. Grow into year 2. I think those both.
If you got a chance at a once in a generation type dude that's a corner,
you're saying
now you're going back to the other draft.
No, if you get one of them Kool-Aids or sauces,
make that quarterback pat the football just one more time.
Just a little bit. That gives
happens.
Verse, that gives Fisk an extra beat to get there. So be it. Yes.
Special teams got to have a mention here, because I think one of the greatest things that the Rams have coming out of this season is maybe their next Zerline-Hecker combination. Like, it's been a while since Rams fans have been able to go into January, February knowing who their specialists are going to be the next fall. And I think there's a chance to believe that these guys could become Pro Bowlers.
Oh yeah,
I
think
Evans. Yeah.
Evans, and it's funny because as much as we didn't think we would call his name, we called his name a ton early throughout the season. And those reps of punting the ball, pitting guys in the corner, and kicking it 50 yards to the sideline, all those things came up huge late in the year because
yeah.
you needed some of those critical punting situations
Yeah.
against the Jets where you pin them, even though they went 99, but you pinned them at the one, right?
Arizona too, just dropping lawn darts down there.
Philly. I mean, when you're backed up in Philly, the playoff game, and it's bombs away time, he gives you that flip field. When the end zone is in play, when you cross the 50, now you got to keep it out of the end zone, no touchbacks. That's a guy that got better as we went on. And I'm glad the Rams resisted the urge to do something at place kicker when the whole operation was struggling. And we blamed it on Cardi.
That's kind of what I meant in terms of like the scar tissue, the lessons learned from this era of Rams football. They've seen good kickers get out of here and then find a second chance and make the most of it with another organization.
Yeah.
They let Cardi's second chance be right here in LA, and he finishes with 16 in a row to close the year.
Outside says when you miss a field goal, blame the place kicker. I'm glad on the inside you can look and see maybe it wasn't just him.
Yeah.
Maybe it was snap. Maybe it was the hold. Maybe it was a lot to the operation. But just letting that settle itself down, the guy became a weapon for you later on in the year and into the postseason.
Just like we're saying the Rams have matured through all these experiences they've had, right?
Yeah.
With the kicking situation, with different special teams coordinators, the way the special teams flew around and made plays, right? Guys were flying down making big time tackles. And I'll say this: Ethan Evans did the leaf punt again in the divisional round against, Cooper DeJean is a secure catcher of the football. That leaf punt caught him off guard, and you had an opportunity to get the ball. Same thing against the Arizona Cardinals, where you have Jordan Whittington flying down, jumping on the ball. Or was that the Cardinals or was that the Vikings? It was the Vikings.
The Jets is when he covered the muff. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, was it the muff?
The muff punt in New York?
Yep. Okay, there it was. They're all kind of rolling together at this point. But
yeah.
but I'm just saying, all these different moments happen because you were mature enough to say, I want to give this special teams coach another chance.
True. Right.
And again, you talked about those experiences from different seasons with different coaches, different players. Moving on, you learn. And it's the maturity of Sean McVay and this organization that's really allowed them to be where they are now.
So who do you think is a breakout star candidate for next year? Because I think Cardi and Evans are both on that list, even though, special teams players probably,
they got to be special.
Don't drive ratings. But
breakout for special teams or just
No. Just who do you, whether it's a year 2 guy or someone ready to step into his own next season?
Breakout star for next season. Okay, the easy one, Blake Corum. Yeah.
Could be.
I was so geeked for him to go, and I was so sad when he broke the arm. And on the run where he broke his arm, he ran the guy over and almost knocked him out.
Right.
So imagine if you get 25 carries of that, depending on what happens. But yeah, Blake Corum might be a guy I'd look at and circle and say, this might be the next star.
Wow. It's a tough one. See, I want to say DeMarcus Robinson. I want to say that because I think he can be that.
So he's a priority free agent for you.
And he's a guy that I would for sure bring back.
Okay.
I would for sure bring back, but
like all the guys I would circle for breakouts, they have broke out this year.
I would say Spates.
Yeah.
Spates was on my short list. Cam Kinchins too.
Yeah.
I think Cam Kinchins. To me, I think the sky.
He broke out already.
I think he broke out already.
Broke out already.
That's why I said I felt like Spates is the guy I want to go with, just because he came in such a. I mean, it just reminds me of the Jets when they're about to run with Breece Hall and he shoots the gap.
Yeah.
Just again, the reps, the meaningful reps that he got this year are only going to make him better. And the Rams, I don't think they have to go out and add at that position.
Okay. Well, if he gets Kinchins, then let me get Fisk then. Yeah. There's a breakout star, even though he already broke out. Right.
So my next question was going to be, which Rams free agent do you want to sign? I was going to guess that yours was going to be Alec Jackson because of what you said on this show.
Oh, dang, you picked him?
DeMarcus Robinson is right there. Okay,
if I were to pick one, I will give me the left tackle every time.
Yeah.
Let me guess one for DeMarco. Hoyt.
Got to have Hoyt back.
You would love to have Hoyt.
I got to have Hoyt back. Hoyt got fined $23,000 or something, whatever it was. I don't know why.
Being too smart? What?
Trash talking? I don't know. But I think he is great for this team. I think he is great for this defense, and he's also great for Jared Verse.
Jared Verse unlocked something in him that I haven't seen this whole time.
No, the other way. He lets Verse be Verse.
No, I'm talking about just the way he was talking.
Yeah. Yes.
His mannerisms, how he was. Like, he was so confident in knowing what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was like barking at the other side, like lining up. You know how they'll get to talking a little bit. He'll drop out. He'll rush. Like, again, to see, we've talked about this. Yeah. Like, do you let Verse, you just give it to Verse, or do you let Verse earn it from Hoyt? They found a way for both of them to coexist. And you got another edge rusher in that situation.
Got to have Hoyt back.
Our audience won't be surprised to hear me say this. I promise it's the last time I'll say it, and then I'll let it go. But if the goal is to get more explosive this offseason, then how can you let your fastest player get out of the building?
Oh, come on, man. He's always open, too. Like, JB, he goes into the divisional round, has 10 yards of separation to catch the ball, then runs out.
I'm your choir.
Right, yes, sir.
25 game on the schedule you're looking forward to most.
Oh, Jacksonville.
Oh, the Liam Cohen Bowl just jumped to the top of your list.
We got to go back. Just because of how that whole thing, we got to come on home.
Is that more about you in Jacksonville?
No, it's about
in
Liam.
Jacksonville?
It's in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
He's there. Your offense is there.
More so than the Raheem Bowl in Atlanta
That's
or
gonna
the
be fun.
rematch in Philly or hosting Detroit?
That's the one I can't wait for.
What?
I mean, pretty
can't
good
wait to
schedule
see
if I just
Detroit
gave you
again.
4 options and none of them are division rivals.
I'm past Detroit.
Are you really?
Yeah, if
I'm not
it's me,
over it.
if we're going a team, because I was thinking more of like a coach that was here.
Oh, yeah.
Offensive guy. You're running the show now. Let's see how you do it, right? You
Yeah,
were
yeah.
kind of the OC in Tampa. You were here. But if we're going to go a team, give me Philly.
Okay.
Need it.
Let's line up
You
again.
want to know why, DeMarco? Because you don't know.
One more time.
Let me tell you something. Well, when me
More
and
than
JB
once.
Don't turn it over. That's
when me
different
and
ball
JB
game.
were working.
Rams are going there the next 2 years.
Come on.
This year as a like place finisher, next year based on the division schedule.
We're calling the game.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
When the Rams are doing well, they're sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
But as soon as one thing happens, they turn around and start barking. And it reminded me of the guy at the bus.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It took so much for me not to say anything because we're on air.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the competitor in me came out. I felt like I
course.
could play that day.
That's where you've grown as a broadcaster over 9
you
years
didn't get
too.
into it.
I was ready.
If we dropped you into that game in your rookie season as a broadcaster,
I might have suited up.
you might not have made it to year
No,
2.
No,
my
I
God.
would have made it to year 2.
But you did.
I'd have hopped through the thing.
Got to be a pro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Winding it down, your best guess for what the Rams do with the 26th overall pick.
There's a
Keep
lot.
it.
You think keep it?
Keep it.
I would say that's the least likely. I
Yeah,
would say
I think they're trading up.
move back, move
back?
up, trade it.
I think they trade up.
I think picking at 26 is
But
Depends on
there's a
who's
lot
there.
that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not
Yeah,
like this
yeah,
is
yeah.
not like a team where it's just like, hey, we're like you got to is your quarterback back? Do you bring your
Yeah.
left tackle back? Who do you bring back? And then that kind of determines. And then we got I got to do the scout thing. I got to see who's out
course.
there to figure it out and get ready to go.
you
I'm
did say it's a
excited.
running back class though. We've heard.
Oh,
a
it
lot
is.
of that.
It's like 25 of them.
Quarterback class. Yeah.
It's not a quarterback class for sure.
Do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
Yeah, give me the Chiefs, man.
You hate even saying that. I know. It's hard to pick against Mahomes, but I would say this, man, and this run and comparing him to Brady or whatever, you go 3 in a row and you beat that Philadelphia squad, who's probably the best rushing team we've seen in forever since Newt Rockne roamed the earth. If you go through them to
that?
win 3 in a row, Kansas City.
Who's Newt Rockne?
I'll tell you after the show.
Yeah, old school. Yeah, before this, like back before the forward pass, when everybody just
Before
ran the
you
ball.
took your recruiting visit to Notre
Yes.
Dame, trust me.
But if you go through them and win a Super Bowl, look, okay, might be the best run, and he may be the best quarterback.
Not just
we've
that,
ever
but if you
seen.
three-peat going through the top 3 MVP candidates.
Yes.
Right? If you get Lamar, Josh, and Saquon. Be cool if the Rams are the last NFC team to win it still, too, right?
Yeah.
That could be something
Yeah,
worth rooting for.
I just this is the thing. When you look at Kansas City, they just find a way. They just figure out how to do it. If it's second half adjustment, if it's critical moments, if it's first starting fast, they just figure out how to do it. And then when I look at the Eagles, and I don't want to sound like a hater, but I just feel like if they can't run the football, putting all that pressure on Hurts to throw the ball to win.
Been saying that all year, and here they are in
Spag's
the
going to
Super
find a
Bowl.
way to make that happen.
Yeah,
right?
no
You
doubt.
gotta
They
think.
had 7 rushing touchdowns yesterday.
Here's my rooting interest for the Super Bowl week. Torry Holt, Hall of Famer. before they
Yes,
kick it off.
about time.
Can we all agree on that?
and then
Yes,
lock
for
the
sure.
doors for 10 years. Yes,
That'll make it a lot easier.
Don't let no
to
more
watch the
receivers
game.
get in.
lock the door for 10 years, let him in, and that's it. Yep.
I guess that's a wrap on this season of Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. As hard as it is to step aside, we do need to put some time and distance between this season and what will be free agency. We'll have the draft covered for you, OTAs and minicamp. We do have some thank yous to offer, not just my friends MJD and DeMarco, of course, but Stu made awesome contributions to this show this year.
Stu.
Cameron, Kirsten, this was our best season of Between the Horns yet. I hope you guys felt that. We enjoyed that. And if I can ask like our studio crew to kind of fill in around us.
Come on.
Come
Yeah,
make a
gotcha.
cameo here.
Looking all
Fair.
sideways. Come on in.
Yeah,
Yes.
Tim.
Oh.
Bing. Rudy. I'm guessing Jory won't cut. Jory probably left
Come on.
at the
Yeah, there you
30-minute
go.
mark. But
Yes,
come
sir.
make
It's
a
all right.
little
There they go.
appearance here.
Don't comb the
Let's
hair.
go.
Come on, Bing. My man.
There we go.
Don't you ever change, Bing.
Part
My
of
man.
what makes this show awesome is the ability to talk about the team and the franchise that we all love and to do it with friends and people who really pour into the product. So thank you for being a part of this show. Start to finish, we can't wait to bring you more 2025 editions. For all of us here at Between the Horns and the Los Angeles Rams, thank you for a great, memorable season.
Whose house?
Rams house.